I went from being in a 4-year-long toxic, unhealthy, just generally mentally draining relationship to now currently being with the most healthy, amazing partner for me. And honestly, it happened a lot quicker than I thought it would. I always knew that I would get into a healthy relationship at some point. I just didn't know that it would be so soon. And I really do attribute a lot of that success to all of the work that I did to understand myself and to become very clear about the values and the interests and the general vibe that I wanted my next partner to have. So if you always find yourself in toxic and unhealthy relationships, but you really want that to change, be sure to watch until the end. But first, hello beautiful people on the internet, my name is Jaden and welcome back to my channel. If you're wondering why you should listen to me specifically about any of this stuff, technically I'm no one special, but I do have a background in psychology and I love analyzing people in their relationships. And although I do make a lot of videos about lifestyle stuff and vlog type content, I am trying to shift my content to some more psychology related videos and just general education and self-help content and just general educational and self-help content. So if you're into any of that, be sure to click the subscribe button down below. But before you get too bored and click away, let's get into the video. So the very first thing you're gonna do when you're trying to manifest your dream partner is brain dump everything you liked and you disliked about your previous relationships. If you've had multiple partners, think about each and every one of them. What you really enjoyed about that relationship, what really drove you insane about them, what you liked or disliked about their personality, their friends, their family. Just honestly get it all out somewhere. Let this be your time to either rant or even gush about some of the things that you appreciated. Do it however you want to do it. You can do it on a piece of paper, you can do it on your notes app, you can do it on your computer, really whatever it takes to just get this information out and onto a place that you can look at it. Take your list and do the best you can to identify the core needs or core feelings that were either met or ignored throughout those relationships. For example, say you had an ex that never really took you out on dates. Yes, that is an issue in itself, but identify what about that really was the thing that was driving you crazy. Was it that you didn't get enough quality time together? Was it that they never really put an effort into your relationship? Or was it that they always seemed kind of embarrassed by you and never really seemed to take you out in public? That's not something I can break down for you. That is between you, your previous partner, the kind of relationship that you had, and the feelings that those situations brought up. Overall, you want to try to narrow down all of your issues into this kind of overarching theme. I know every couple has that one thing that seems to just come up with like every situation that is a problem. And I'm a big believer that you should do this with the pros as well. Using the previous example, yes, maybe your partner didn't take you out on many dates, but say they always gave you a lot of compliments. You want to identify what core needs that the pros were meeting as well. Like maybe the compliments made you feel really validated and really special at times. So it shows that not only do you need dates, but you also need those compliments, which isn't maybe something that you're intentionally looking for going into your next relationship because you already had it and you didn't really notice that it was a thing because you were so focused on what you didn't have. It is very possible to have multiple feelings at the same time and to get kind of conflicted in your thoughts. So take your time and be very introspective about this. Don't try to force the understanding of every situation. Just try to keep them on your mind and the answers will slowly start to unfold on their own. I also wouldn't want to tell you guys to do something without explaining exactly why I think you should. We're trying to create healthy relationships here, right? And we're also trying to make this an achievable goal. So expecting your future partner to hit a bunch of random metrics is not really as productive as wanting them to meet specific needs. The more you pull out stuff like, I need to be taken on X amount of dates a month, a week, I need us to do this when we're spending time together, I need them to talk to me like this, I need them to look a specific way, that's a big one. You're really limiting yourself and really narrowing your dating pool. Whereas if you take my previous example, say you're not getting taken on that many dates, say you identified that need as your partner not really putting in a ton of effort for you. Well, you obviously know now that one of the ways that need can be met is with being taken out on dates. and maybe these dates are a little bit more traditional to you, like a fancy dinner date. But if that's all you're looking for is some fancy, formal, specific dates, you might limit yourself to the person who's going to make a really good meal for you every night or buy you flowers every single time they come over, which would still fulfill that need of putting in effort and seeing you and appreciating you, but it doesn't come from that thing that you were so hyper fixated on is the main problem. The main problem is the need, not the exact event or situation that was bringing up that unmet need. And let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with having preferences for someone's appearance or someone's hobbies or interest, but you shouldn't try focusing too much on that and making that the end goal for your dream partner. And there's a difference between saying, I want to date a person with brown hair, who's 6'3", who is muscular but not too muscular, who dresses in a lot of streetwear, like getting that specific for stuff like that, versus saying, I want to be with someone who I am physically attracted to, who has a good fashion sense, who takes care of themselves, because those can more so be identified as needs you need to have. You do need to be attracted to your partner in some way, shape, or form, and certain things like hygiene and style are obviously important because we want someone who cares about themselves. That just kind of shows how much they're gonna care for you and how much they're gonna care for the relationship. It means a lot. For your future relationship to be healthy, you need to have healthy and human expectations. No one you date is going to be able to meet a million different meticulous standards that you have. Which brings me to the next step. Now is the time to write an entire list of your expectations for your future partner. I obviously kind of hinted at this, but if you're looking at your past relationship and identifying what needs you were missing and what feelings weren't occurring in the way you needed them to, and you're identifying those overarching feelings, write those feelings down as things that you need to experience in your future relationship. And like I said, if it was a positive that your previous partners had and you really enjoyed it and something you want to continue, write those down as well. And you want those overarching feelings, but you can also go back and use some of the examples for specific situations to kind of back the feelings that you were missing or wanting to have in the future. Going back to the same example again, so your past partner never really took you on dates. We identified that that need that was missing was your partner not really putting in effort for you. And I talked about some of the other things that could potentially make you feel like they're putting in effort. But there can be so many more things. You can give examples. You don't have to list them as like a requirement, but yes, you want your partner to make you feel like they're putting in effort for you. It would be nice if they took you on some dates. It would be nice if they got you flowers. It would be nice if they cooked you meals. But in general, whatever way that they make you feel like they're putting in effort for you, that's what's important here. And if one of those things just really seem to stand out for you, like I said, if the dates were really a thing for you, if you are really a person that needs to be taken on some kind of traditional, formal, sit-down dinner date, at least like once a month, then you can write that down. If that is something that you know is essentially a non-negotiable for you, something that you need to feel that love and effort, definitely put that down as an actual standard that needs to be met. Let's move on to a different example. So say your partner never really made you feel like they were listening to you, and you have several points to back that up. Let's say 1, they never really remembered anything that you talked about, and they never really applied anything that you were talking about. If you were like complaining about something or saying like, oh, this thing would be really nice to have, and like they don't ever get you anything like that, or don't ever really put in effort for any of the things that you acknowledged previously as things that you would like and appreciate. They always misunderstood the point you were trying to make when you were trying to have productive conversations, and also they're always on their phone when you were trying to have meaningful connection. When you're done writing out your list for your future partner, you obviously put that overarching need as wanting to and needing to feel heard and listened to by your future partner. But from those experiences, you learn that someone being on their phone when you're trying to talk to them is really one of your biggest pet peeves, and it's something that you will not tolerate in a future relationship. Then you can also write that down as something that you're not going to tolerate in a future relationship. You need someone who's going to be actively participating in the conversations and listening to you when you're speaking. Another thing I really want you to focus on is not overcorrecting. Let's say you dated someone in the past who talked a lot. Like they would always be yapping, they never shut up, they always talked over you, and it kind of made you feel unseen and just overshadowed. If you have that experience and then therefore turn around and say you want someone quiet, so then you start dating someone quiet, but then they're too quiet. it. You want to attempt to find that balance. There are so many things that this can apply to, which is why I say it's more important to identify the overarching issue rather than just identify each tiny little situation that irked you or just rubbed you the wrong way. Because let's give another example. For something like sex, you want someone that's into you and is sexually attracted to you and wants to be intimate with you. But there is a possibility that if it's too much, you start to feel objectified and only wanted for your body. So you don't really want someone who makes everything about sex, but you also don't want someone who never wants to have sex and never initiate and is never intimate with you. There's this good middle ground, as there is with almost every single issue, and you should be searching for that middle ground always. So that is enough thinking about your future partner and all your fucking exes. Let's focus on you. You're going to make yet another list now based on all of your triggers and your traumas and your red flags that you have accumulated over the years. This might seem unnecessary, or you might just be tempted to think, oh well, I'm perfect, or even my perfect person won't need me to change or want me to change. I know there's someone who will appreciate this version for me for all of my flaws and all of my problems. And it is true that someone will love you the way that you are, but you should still move forward with the intention of creating a healthy relationship where you're both accountable for your own flaws, your own problems, and you should both be trying to work on yourself. Think about it. If you're gonna have all these standards for a future partner, wouldn't you want your future partner to have standards for their future partner? You don't necessarily have to do anything with this list yet. I just encourage you to make it and to have it in the back of your mind as you're going into the dating world again. And a big thing I want you to do is to make your intentions known early. Once you start actively looking for a real relationship, make sure that you make it clear that you are serious and you are looking for a serious relationship. If you're on dating apps, you should set them all to wanting a relationship, and you should weed out anyone that is not giving you that same energy. And I mean anyone. It's not about what they say, it's about the energy that they're giving. If someone is telling you that they're wanting a relationship but they are trying to hook up with you, they do not want a relationship. You know that you are looking for your life partner, not a hookup. You don't necessarily have to talk about getting married and having kids on your first date, but you should only be dating people who you could see yourself going down that road with if that's what you're looking for. Well, I can't 100% say that I did all of this to a T because I wasn't quite trying to like find my future husband actively when I met my boyfriend. I was not opposed to a serious relationship, and I knew as soon as it was something serious, I wasn't gonna be playing with it. My boyfriend and I did not talk to other people the day that we started talking. I canceled the other dates that I was going to go on because something about the way we were talking and the energy that we were giving each other showed that we were both the kind of people to just invest in one person at a time. And even though it took a little while before we explicitly made that clear, I think it was just something that we both kind of guessed was the case and understood about each other. So having that trust and those standards set really early on helped me with all the anxiety and confusion that comes with talking to someone new. You should really be going on dates with an open mind. Yes, you're looking for something serious and specific, but you also can be pleasantly surprised by people. Keep an open mind. Don't go in with an all or nothing mindset. Take each date and every interaction just as it comes for a little while. Enjoy yourself, enjoy all the moments, and then later on, that's when you can start thinking a bit deeper about the situation. So as you're going on dates, as you're talking to someone new, I want you to document all your thoughts, all your feelings. You can make a pros and cons list, but focus on the feelings that you're experiencing rather than the specifics. Once again, if there's ever a time where you felt like you weren't being listened to, or maybe felt like you weren't respected as much, that's definitely something you want to note down. You want to put a big star by it and focus on that. But obviously the alternative, if you are feeling loved, if you are feeling safe, if you are feeling heard and appreciated and cared for, those are all things you want to note. Add to your non-negotiables list, add to your expectations list, add to your trigger list. As you go on, just see what comes up and write them all down. I have this main journal that I use to write down every little thing. And it might not seem like too much, but I wrote all of this about my relationship in just the span of like 8 months. notes. Essentially, every important thought process that I had throughout my relationship is documented in here. And it was just like every week or so, I would just do an update on how I've been feeling. If it was positive, if it was negative, if I was anxious, if I was feeling angry or sad or lonely. Those are really the things that I would focus on heavily. I would highlight them, and a lot of these sticky notes are actually important feelings that I felt at different stages, because if there were situations that were bringing up extreme emotions like anger, like deep sadness, that could be a red flag in the future. And again, I always tried to identify exactly where these feelings were coming from. I knew from my trauma list, my trigger list, whatever you want to call it, that a lot of the things that were coming up for me were just things brought up from my past, and usually that would help kind of ease the stress of the experience. But if there were any feelings that tended to linger, that's when I would bring it up as a conversation with my partner, and we would get through it. He would help ease my mind, and we would be a lot better for it. For example, I wrote being worried about where the relationship was headed pretty early on, which prompted me probably a few weeks later to have the whole "what are we" conversation. And that's when we established we weren't talking to other people, and we were of course really interested in each other, and then we started talking about our past. A lot of that anxiety that I was experiencing was really about what I had experienced from other people, and just a lot of those trust issues that were formed from my previous experiences. So it's not like it was anything that he did, but regardless, once we had the conversation about everything, it really helped to ease my worries. And this leads me into my next step, which is follow up on your expectations soon after you start seeing each other. There is no timeline for this, which I know a lot of y'all are gonna hate, because I know everyone's always Googling that at the start of something new, like when's the best time to have the "what are we" conversation. And the truth is, there is no right time, but also in my opinion, there shouldn't be a wrong time. You don't have to ask that with the intention of wanting to be exclusive or wanting to be official, but it is important to communicate what's going on and what the expectations are. If you are the kind of person that likes to focus on one person at a time, or if you're more so keeping options open and really seeing how things feel with other people to know if your connection with one person is really strong. The longer you're not having this conversation opens your potential to be hurt by the situation more than if you would have just had this conversation earlier on. Maybe it's a little bit more uncomfortable, but it's definitely a lot more informative. And I also think that someone's hesitancy to have this conversation, or someone's uncomfortability from having this conversation, says a lot about who they are and what their intentions are as well. Because I feel like if you're serious about each other, you know that from the get-go. If you're the kind of person that only focuses on one person and one relationship, then it's going to be really easy for you to answer with, well, yeah, we're seeing each other. This is what I'm focusing on. Really different to someone who's filling out other options and might be a little bit more weird about the situation and might be like, I don't really want to say. It's definitely okay to see other people before you have the exclusivity conversation, but in no kind of relationship do you want to avoid communication. It doesn't matter whether you're exclusive or not. That's how I always felt that the dating world should be. Now, is that really common? Maybe not, but communication is healthy, and you should never feel bad about having these conversations, just to be sure that you're on the same page. And then once you get to the point that you're in a committed, established relationship, make sure that you're doing check-ins with your partner often. My boyfriend and I actually do this weekly, and I have started to get very structured about them. I have a list that I update throughout the week on my Notion that basically says, here's what made me really happy throughout the week, here's what maybe didn't make me so happy, here's stuff that I think I can work on, here's how I want to show up better for you, here's some ideas, here's some things that I'm really prioritizing. It's not the same conversation every single week. Sometimes we harp on one specific issue for like 4 hours. Other times we jump around from really random thoughts that we've had. Sometimes we talk about the past, sometimes we talk about the future, sometimes we're not even really talking about our relationship, sometimes we're just talking about ourselves and our beliefs and our thoughts. But I really like having this designated time, this designated safe space to just talk about everything that's on our minds. I think it's a really healthy practice to have, and it's really good if you make a ritual out of it, and if you even set up some very special aspects of it, like maybe you can cook a dinner and set up some candles and make it a whole thing. But really the focus there is to just have that designated time to talk and to listen. It doesn't have to be a weekly thing, it can be a monthly thing, it could be a bi-weekly thing, it could even be a daily thing if you want to maybe like shorten out the conversation. Maybe every time after you come home from work and you're eating together, you just kind of talk about things in general. Whatever way it makes it a little ritual for you to to have a check-in point. You can make it as detailed or as free as you want. Like I said, I pretty much follow a template and I have like my Spark notes from the week that I can reference. If it's not clear, the main things I'm pressing here are introspection and communication. Those two things alone are gonna save so much of the messiness and confusion that comes from relationships. And you and your future partner might not be perfect from the get-go, but the main thing is practice makes perfect. There's truly not that much that can go wrong from reflecting and communicating, as long as you're with the right person and you're doing it as healthily as you can manage. And if all of this is way too far ahead of you because you haven't been able to get out of those toxic relationships, be sure to watch this video here on how to get out of those toxic relationships and stay out for good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave it a like and a comment, and if you're feeling generous, you can even subscribe. I do hope to see you guys all in the next video, but if not, bye bye.